Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Hogan. Welcome back to my Zero Carb Life. Today I have Märta Rydbeck, who is a friend of mine now. I met her first over at Dr. Joan Iflin's groups over at the ARC, Addiction Recovery Community. And now we see each other on my Zoom calls. And I got to hear a little bit about her story, but I said, hey, I would love to hear more. So welcome, Märta.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here. I've never really been, with one of the OGs of carnivore before. So I'm like, oh, yeah,
Oh,
very much in awe, I
well,
must say.
thank you. That's very kind of you. So
I've
tell me.
followed you for a long time, so I very much appreciate the work you're doing, and I think you're unique in that sense that you're one of the few carnivores that actually talk about addiction and how important that is.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Welcome. I appreciate you saying that. Hey, I just got off of a call a couple hours ago with three carnivores, and I'm not
Mhm.
sure which video will come out first, maybe that one, who had attempted adding back some sugar and fruit to see if they were healed enough because they had each done carnivore for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And they determined, no, they were not. And it's not a matter of healing any more than we would say, oh, you've been off of alcohol a couple years. Let's see if you've healed enough to bring it back to an alcoholic. That's like, are you kidding me?
No, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about sugar addiction is the fact that people say, "Oh, I'm freed from my sugar addiction. I don't have any more cravings." Well, if they say that and that's true, then they weren't addicted in the first place. Maybe they were harmful users of sugar and flour, but they were certainly not addicts. Some people are completely neutral to sugar. They can, have a bite and then forget about it for 2 weeks, and then they come back, oh, here's a piece of chocolate. Uh,
We have a name for that. Some people call them moderators. I call them
yeah.
aliens. They're aliens.
Well, sometimes I know Bitten used to call them normals, but I don't like that because I think we are the normal ones who are
Yeah.
not eating sugar and
Yeah.
carbs and so on.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think certainly we are the most common answer. I don't think there are that many people who can handle, especially the highly processed sugars. They're
hmm,
designed to be highly addictive. It's not the normal to not
no.
be addicted. The normal is hook, line, and sinker, you're addicted. So, yeah.
I don't know where you want me to start, really. I can go sort of the traditional history of yo-yo dieting, up and
Um,
down in weight,
yeah.
spending enormous amounts of money on Weight Watchers, which is why I really have a hard time with measuring and weighing because that's what we were taught to do in Weight Watchers. So I'm trying to get over that now. My resistance. My highest weight came after my second child was born. And then I did Weight Watchers again, of course, but I didn't lose really any weight until 2010 when I found low carb, high fat. So I was one of the early ones doing low carb, high fat and lost a lot of weight thanks to that
Yeah.
very easily. I don't know if it's because it's very easy to lose weight the first time you do it, but I did a big mistake. Well, I didn't know it was a big mistake, but kept the sweeteners
Oh, yeah.
uh, during those 4 or 5 years. And eventually, because I was in total denial about being an addict, as a parenthesis, Bitten Johnson published her first book in 2004 in Swedish
Oh,
called Sugar Bomb and I read that book and I was thinking, oh, this is interesting. She talks about addiction. Can't be me, but deep inside, I knew she was talking to me. But I was in total denial about this because, of course, you can't be addicted to sugar and bread and things like that. I had no idea. So yeah, and then I did successfully low carb, high fat for about 4 or 5 years. And then my binge eating disorder flared up again. And I had a very stressful number of years. I even went at one point to a clinic to get help.
Oh,
And they said, sure, we can help you. Here is the food pyramid. You have to eat everything on this pyramid. And I said, well, no, I'm sorry. I won't be able to eat this at the bottom, the breads and the starches and the things. Because by then, now we're talking like 2017 or something.
okay.
By then, I knew that, yes, there's something, going on here. I can't do this because when I eat those things, I get spiral out of control.
Yeah.
Sadly, they wouldn't help me because I
Oh,
refused to eat those things. So I couldn't get help here in Sweden. And I struggled for a number of years. I did a lot of fasting. I read Jason Fung's work, and that was great. Fasting is not a problem. Starting to eat is a problem.
yep.
So I came into that cycle of fasting and binging and fasting and binging, which I've understood. I mean, fasting is good, but it's not good if you're still eating processed foods and sugars.
Right.
So I think that was clear. And then the pandemic came along. And at one point, I think it was in February 2021, I don't know if you remember Club Radio, that sort of radio club that was going on during the pandemic. I think it was called Club Radio. It was like a social media where people are hooking up just voice across the whole world.
Oh,
Anyway, I ended up in one of these rooms with Dr. Unwin from the psychologist,
yes.
Unwin. And she was in this room and they were talking about addiction and food addiction. And I was like, oh, maybe it's time for me to cut out the carbs and the sugars. So thanks to that room, I every Wednesday I would go back and listen to these women speaking, or and there were men as well. And I managed to get rid of the carbs. So I cut out the sugar, the flours, but then I all of a sudden got very much pain in my left knee. So I had a skiing accident
Oh,
30 something years ago, but I haven't been in pain all the time ever since. But it just started hurting so much. And I went to do an MRI, and the doctor said, I'm sorry, but you have really severe arthritis.
oh,
And they compared with my right knee, and they said, well, there you also have arthritis, but it's not as bad as your left knee because it's like bone on bone, basically, and tough luck kind of thing. And I got a lot of medications, and then I got, well, crutches, and
oh,
I was limping around, and I got a cortisone shot in my knee.
yeah,
That worked a little bit, but it didn't relieve me from the crutches. And well, I thought, oh, I've cut out the sugars and the flours. Why am I not feeling better?
yeah,
So, well, nothing really improved. I sort of got used to all the pain. I was still sort of using a crutch on and off, but I was taking medications all the time, anti-inflammatory. Then went to a functional medicine doctor in Sweden
yeah.
a year later. So in August 2022. And following some tests and so on, they said you should maybe think about cutting out dairy. So
Okay.
I cut dairy. And then in January 2023, the doctor that I was seeing there, he was actually also a food addict, and he was a carnivore. This is the
Huh.
first time I ever met. But functional medicine doctors in Sweden are licensed Swedish doctors, but they can't really give advice on anything outside the
Okay.
norm. It's very rare. I mean, I don't think there is a single doctor I met in Sweden who understands carnivore or agrees with it or think it's normal. So then in January of 2023, I started carnivore. The first 4 months, I did just beef, fish, and butter,
Okay.
bacon, no eggs, because they had detected that maybe I was sensitive to eggs. So I didn't do eggs for 4 months, which was really hard because I love
I
eggs.
love eggs.
But the doctor reassured me and said maybe after 4 or 5 months you can try reintroducing having eggs. So the reason why I wanted to go carnivore was really to see if my sugar cravings would go down. So I obviously let go of all the vegetables, the nuts. There were lots of
Yes.
them, the nuts. And the fruits. I wasn't doing much fruits, but I was still doing a lot of berries, like
Oh.
raspberries with cream. That was like a go-to thing before I let go of the dairy. But anyway, so all of that was out. And then, so we're in January, and then all of a sudden, sometime in March 2023, I wake up, I walk downstairs, and halfway down the stairs, I realize, oh, I'm not in pain. Knee, what's wrong? My knee is not hurting. This is not possible. I was like thinking, no, 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 no. This cannot be true, you know? So I went about my day and I didn't have pain. And I mean, the people who've seen me before, I mean, I literally, to walk my dog, I had to take the bike and, cycle really slowly so that she could run beside the bike because, yeah, I couldn't walk any longer distances. And then all of a sudden, no pain. It's
Wow.
like, and the thing is that when I tell people this story, even as late as last week, I was having dinner with some girlfriends, and one of them is saying, yeah, but that is all about placebo, Märta. Placebo is really strong, the effect. And I was like, okay, 2.5 years? I don't think so.
No.
But, people in general, and even my family, I'm not going to name any names,
Right.
but my family, they think it's not normal to eat this way. And it's very hard sometimes. It's hard to not be the norm in a
Right.
way. But the longer it goes and the longer, I mean, the more benefits I see because not only am I pain-free, my parodontitis, my teeth used to almost move around and
Oh.
they're now secure, you know,
Yes.
and I'm not bleeding the gums. I'm not bleeding from the gums anymore.
Yes.
I'm a little bit calmer than I used to be.
Hmm.
I think that I'm not reacting so hard about things in my life, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm wondering, am I doing it the right way? So that's why, I mean, I'm really looking forward to being in your group because I think I have some learnings to do in that sense.
Well, I know for sure that you're going to start to feel a lot more normal when you're with our groups because every person there can report things that have gotten better, that we know that this just works better for us.
Yeah.
Before I had a group, I mean, back in when I had 5 years where I was still including
Yeah.
artificial sweeteners, it
Hmm.
was, I call it my 5 years of almost carnivore.
Yeah.
Nobody had, what is she doing? Why, why don't you eat any of these things? Like, I didn't know why, except my doctor had told me that it would help. So he knew what was up, but nobody else did.
Yeah.
And I felt better. Like, that's all
Hmm.
I've got is I know I feel better. But it is hard being looked at like you're an oddball. But then we go on these meetings and it's just an entire screen full of people who get it. And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. And I've actually had that for myself since 2009. I have had group support. And it was so valuable to me that now I'm happy that I can be there for people like you who it works for you. You just maybe need a little bit of tweaking or looking at macros or maybe this type of tool calculator. But what you really need is people who know that you're not insane.
Mm. Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, and I think also, I mean, I've gotten used to being in the restaurants, ordering food because,
Right.
but I think people dread inviting me to their homes. It's like I'm sort of some kind of alien.
Yeah.
What are you really eating? Are you not going to have any of, And I said, just let me know what you plan to cook. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not being difficult in that sense, but I if they say, yeah, we're gonna do pasta, and then I say, I'll bring something.
Yes.
But still, it seems like they are very concerned with me about my health and even at one point I dated I dated a doctor for a while. Sorry, I'm just laughing because he was really concerned. And I had to show him my blood work
Yes.
and to show him that it's perfectly normal. Triglyceride really low,
Yes.
8.1 AC is really low, insulin low.
If
Mm,
somebody's feeling good and it's
yeah.
simply the world saying, well, what you're doing is weird, you now have to prove that what you're doing is worthwhile. I hate that, Märta, partly
Yeah.
because nobody was demanding to see your lab work and ask questions of your diet when you were on crutches.
Nope.
No, nobody was tore up about your food choices when you were having all of this intense pain. And now that you're out walking and feeling good, now you have to prove that what you're doing is right. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, it does drive me crazy. It's good for you to remind me because but the thing is that I did quit the sugar and the flour like half a year before my problems got really, really terrible with my knee. And then, people were telling me, oh, so this thing about eating sugar and carbs how is that working out for you? You
Right.
know?
Were you having,
So it wasn't really until I went the whole way and removed everything
yes,
that I got the result. And the pain wasn't in my head. It was more like I need to get my cravings under control somehow. And
yes,
I had the thought that once I've done this for a while, I might start adding things back in, like vegetables or fruits, because, the norm says you have to eat that. Oh, yeah. And you have to eat fiber. Don't forget the fiber. How can you manage without the fiber?
right. Yeah.
I should be
I
dead by now.
That's
Uh,
the answer. Just fine. Far better than before. I was having all kinds of problems before. I met this guy the other day who said he would love to try carnivore, but his IBS is already so bad that he's afraid. I said, because he's been told if you have IBS, you've got to have so much fiber. I said, man, that's one of the main reasons I do carnivore is
yeah.
because IBS was awful before. And he looked at me like, what kind of a weirdo are you? What do you mean you had to cut out fiber? I'm like, you could just give it a try and see if it helps. I don't know if you ever did or not. It was just somebody passing by. Yeah, I find it really interesting that you cut out the worst offenders, the
Yeah.
sugar and the worst foods, but it didn't get rid of the pain. And if Sally Norton were here, she would wonder if it wasn't oxalate toxicity to start with because she was wheelchair bound at times like you with the crutches. It would get
Mhm.
worse and then get better. She couldn't figure out what it was, and
Yeah.
until she cut out high oxalate foods, which for those of you that don't know, there is only one diet that is oxalate free, and that is carnivore.
Yes.
Oxalate's only found in plants. So it makes me think it could have been oxalate related for you.
It could have been. Yeah. Because the functional medicine, the doctor there, they talked about oxalate and said the high oxalate foods like spinach, almonds,
Yeah.
raspberries.
Yep.
I wasn't doing a lot of spinach, but a few years back, I was doing a lot of juicing and
Oh,
smoothies, all these smoothies, where you
yeah.
have a lot of greens and then a banana and then this and then that. And, it just breaks my heart now that I see all these young girls, doing smoothies and paying a lot of money in those prefabricated smoothie shops.
So we can't prove for sure that it was the oxalates, but you are living proof that
Yeah.
when you were doing it the traditional healthy way with all of the fruits and the vegetables and the smoothies, you were hurting. And
Yeah.
now you're eating nothing but a lot of meat,
Yep.
some
Fish.
fish. Oh, I love fish. Butter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Butter.
Bacon.
Sometimes. Less now because I'm trying to understand if bacon is also a triggering food for me.
Yeah.
'Cause even sort of some carnivore foods. D- haven't you said once it's not a charcuterie diet?
The
I mean,
charcuterie diet, yeah. When it comes to first getting off of carbs, I would be thrilled for somebody to turn in their donuts to eat salami, bacon, and cheese.
yeah.
Fantastic. But it sounds like you're to the place where you feel really good. And you have shared that now at this some point you're looking more for body composition. And I find when it comes to just the physical like look of things, that fresh meats. and eggs and seafood tend
Yeah.
to work better for getting people in touch with their true hunger signals and their true satiety, whereas bacon, for a lot of us, just overrides it. We could just eat. I know I can just eat and eat and eat it, and has nothing to do with hunger, right? It's just good.
No,
No.
no, and cheese is really the same thing. I occasionally have a little bit of cheese when I'm at the restaurant and everybody's having dessert, and if there's cheese on the dessert menu, I might have a few bites, but cheese is not something I can have at home
Right.
because, and luckily my son, he doesn't eat cheese, so there's no need to have cheese at home. So that's that's super addictive, I think. The casomorphins in the cheese really sort of gets to your brain. And I
Yes.
think that going back to the addiction, Joe Niflin has published a really interesting paper on eating disorder treatment. I'm going to send you that one. How actually treatment of eating disorder is often misconstructed. Going back to that you know you have to moderate everything in order to be in an eating, you know, treating an eating disorder, but actually abstinence from certain foods can actually be very, very beneficial.
Yes.
And that abstinence is not something to be afraid of. It sounds
No.
terrible to a lot of people. Oh, I'm never ever going to be able to do that. But then you just have to choose your heart in a way.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. There are people with all types of food allergies and
Yeah.
sensitivities, and we wouldn't tell them you have to learn to moderate peanuts if they make you sick, right? We
Yeah.
would just say, "Oh, well, I'm glad you figured out what it was. So now you
Yeah.
can be careful with peanuts. They're just sweet taste for me. It's like my peanuts. Can't,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back to it because I don't want
Oh.
to be sick. Sure, I could maybe learn psychologically how to moderate them, but it comes with health benefits. And I don't know that I ever could learn to moderate actual processed sweets
Hmm.
because, like you say, it's addiction for a reason. You can't moderate addictions.
No.
No. Yeah.
And and I think also no longer being in denial about that I am an addict
Right.
is really helpful
Yes.
because then I know, you know, it's like, you know, as you're saying, an alcoholic can't have a drink on Saturdays and then like a cheat day because then it's like a cheat week, a cheat year, and you know, and everybody understands that.
Yes.
But then when they come with something, oh, Märta, just have a little bite. And I was like, no, thank you, I'm good. They get very upset.
Right.
Also, like they're asking, so for how long are you going to be doing this? And I said, well, I don't know, probably forever, but you know, until I don't feel good doing it, I guess.
As long
But
as it's working. That's what I
yeah,
tell.
exactly.
I've told my own mom that if this ever stops working, I'll go back to what else wasn't working. Right? I mean, as long as I'm feeling good, why would I go back to something I've
Yeah.
already tested? Asking me to why don't you reintroduce to me? All I hear is, why don't you go back to what nearly killed you?
Yeah.
If I wanted to, I could at any moment. So I don't feel like I have to commit to anything forever. But as long as I'm feeling good and as long as I care about myself to not feel bad, then we're going to keep just going with what's working, right, Marta?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you and I both do have some experience, not just with dealing with our own addictions, but also helping people through theirs. What could we say to them right now? Somebody who thinks, well, this all sounds great. I would love to treat this like an alcoholic treats addiction and just abstain completely, but getting there, getting to that abstinence.
I think the first thing is to show compassion and make people understand it's not their fault. I
Right.
think a lot of people think it's their fault. It's my fault that I can't stop having this or that or whatever is the trigger food. I
Yeah.
mean, as you said in the beginning, those foods have been designed by scientists to make us addicted. And if we have that sensitive part in our brain that makes us addicted, it's not possible, you know, it's a reptile. We're no longer in our frontal pre-cortex here. We're in the reptile brain. We don't know how we ended up in the fridge. All of a sudden, we've eaten everything that we thought we were going to leave until tomorrow. It's not our fault. It is, you know, it's a biochemistry process going on in our brains that makes it so difficult. So
Yes.
that's why we need to rewire our brains. We need to surround ourselves with people, who are like-minded and understand that it's not their fault. Like you sort of, rewire your brain, learning new skills to be aware of where there are triggers, avoid them, go abstinent, little by little. I mean, it depends. Some people want to go cold turkey and get rid of everything in their house, and other people do better in reducing slowly and getting things away from their households. So I think just giving people hope as well, that there is a way out
Yes.
and that progression is more important than perfection, even though, I mean, for me, it's so much easier to be abstinent than to say that I'm going to have one thing here or there, because one thing here and there is like all the time.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not perfect because I'm trying to win an award. I try
Mm.
to stay perfect because it's easier than
Yes,
a little of this.
yes.
None is easy for me. A
No,
little is impossible. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I think also to understand the complexity of addiction. I mean, it's a biochemistry process, but then and that it starts really early childhood exposure. When we're children, sugar is the first thing we see and we get. I mean, the way I fed my babies, the first thing they got was, I think, was a banana or
Right.
something sweet. And then it just continues. And often, I mean, you can say that there's one addiction, sugar, and then several outlets. Because, I used to smoke. I
Right.
was a smoker. I used to drink quite a lot as well. I've never had that sort of addicted feeling to drinking.
Mm.
But I managed to quit smoking cold turkey one day. I don't know how that, I was smoking 2 packets a day
Wow.
and then I quit. Um, but I think that it's so easy. And then obviously I gained weight because I was eating sugar.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what
Replace.
happened. And
Yeah.
you go to an AA meeting. What are they serving at an AA meeting? Loads of carbs. Nobody talks about nutrition to an alcoholic, which is really sad because
Yes.
people they go back to their first addiction, or it could be screen addiction, gambling, sex,
Yeah.
shopping, everything. No
Yeah.
wonder it's hard because
Yeah.
they've had it for such a long time.
Most of us were comforted with
Yeah.
sugar, shown
Yes.
love with sugar. It was just right. It filled in so many gaps that when you suggest to anyone that they cut it out, it feels like we're saying, I need you to cut out comfort, cut out love, cut out
Yeah.
my one big security blanket. When in fact, once it's gone, then we can learn to get dopamine in so many other more beautiful ways. And when you are addicted to something, it feels like you can't get joy from anything else
But food.
but the thing. And so you tune out all other joy. And so when somebody says, we're going to have you cut out this one thing, then it's like, but that is my only joy. And they don't realize if that were gone through abstinence, through some therapy, through everything we have to go through to get there, that then all the other joy in the world can actually be experienced. But it's hard to realize that when you're in that moment.
And I also think sometimes we mirror sort of the abstinence as sort of the heaven of everything. And the thing is that once we are abstinent, I think then we have the ability to actually tackle our problems because the problems are still there. We've
Yes.
just been numbing them with food. So
Right.
all of a sudden, it can be pretty hard once you're abstinent because all of a sudden you see all these things that you've been numbing for such a long time. And that's why community is so important.
It's huge.
It's huge. Because if you're not surrounding yourself with people who have had similar experiences, you still feel like you're the only one out there. I'm the only one in my tribe not eating, so I'm an outcast. And, the conformance drive works in two ways. I mean, it works with the community, but it also works on the other side. The worst side is that you want to conform to the people you surround you with. Like at break time at work, they pass around the stuff and you get that look. So you're on a diet again?
Yeah.
For how long are you not going to have this? And I said, well, no, thank you. And but it's hard. It's really hard.
Yes. So, Märta, this is terrible timing, but I have an appointment in 8 minutes across town. So here's what I want to say. What you're talking about peer pressure, and we tend to, in the United States, the phrase peer pressure tends to be very negative, like people are pushing you. And
Yeah,
so we're talking about engaging your mirror neurons that love to emulate the people around you. That works negative, but it also works very positive. And just me sitting having these conversations, and hopefully those who are watching getting to hear these conversations reaches parts of your brain that go, me too. That
yeah,
me too is powerful. And when you know there are other people who have had your past struggles, and then it gives you hope that there is something on the other side, it's a big deal. So whether it's my group or Dr. Iflin's group or Dr. Bitten Johnson's group, just
for
find
sure.
people who get you and who are wanting you to be pulled into this lifeboat into the other side. So, because we didn't get into a whole lot of like tips for breaking the addiction, although that's a big one right there,
Yeah,
abstinence and support, I'm going to link to any of the links or papers that you want to send me. And then I will also link to some videos that I've done in the past that have some really actionable steps on how to make that transition. But I'm so thrilled that you are walking and smiling and feeling joy and not addicted and that you don't hurt. Just the gift of not hurting. And I hope we can pass that on to somebody else. So thank you for being here, Märta. And I look forward to seeing you next week in the group.
yeah. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.